I've learned that on TikTok, I have to kind of create some code words so that it's not as obvious to the TikTok bots what I'm referring to. I know that I can't show any cannabis products. I can't show flower. I can't show myself smoking.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blitz Growth. Really excited today. We have an awesome guest and I think you're going to learn a lot. She comes very highly recommended. Don't worry, you'll get what I mean in a second. Nicole has some of the best content on baking and 420 if that's what you're into. Today, we're going to dive into how she works with brands, paid newsletters and content to generate an income from her social media accounts, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So thanks for joining, Nicole.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Great. So starting out, since nobody knows who you are yet on the podcast, how would you introduce yourself and what you do? Because you got a few different angles that you're working with, very unique channel. So how do you kind of introduce yourself and say what you do to people that you don't usually know?
Yeah, I'm primarily a food content creator with a little bit of 420 mixed in. So how I started was at the beginning of the pandemic. I was just bored and lonely, and I think we were all a little sad and confused about what was happening in the world. So in order to kind of motivate myself and cheer myself up, I decided to get stoned and bake a pie, and I filmed it just to make my friends laugh. And they encouraged me to post it on social media, and since then, people all over the world have been asking me to make more content. So I've just grown this over the last 3 years from just a bored video that I shot alone in my apartment to a brand that I'm really proud of and a community that I am so happy that I have built.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty big community. I think you've passed like 200,000 followers on Instagram, which we know is the hard one versus TikTok. But yeah, it's super interesting that you sort of didn't intentionally fall into it. And that speaks a lot of volume to your content if you weren't even trying.
Yeah, I really did not set out to become a content creator at all. I think a lot of people do. Like they might have an idea and hope that their channel will grow. And for me, I just kind of stumbled upon it, and I still feel like I need to pinch myself every day because I have no idea what's going on with my life. And I don't know how I ended up with almost 1 million followers on TikTok and hundreds of thousands on other platforms as well. So it's been a really crazy journey.
Yeah, and just while we're on the topic, actually, do you put more time into Instagram or TikTok? Because I know this is a big debate right now happening in the content creator world. It's like the value of an Instagram follower versus the value of a TikTok follower. Which one do you spend more time on, and which one do you feel like you get more value from?
Yeah, I think I would spend more time on Instagram, mostly because I use Instagram stories a lot. And TikTok has things like TikTok Live, and TikTok started their own version of stories probably around a year ago, but they haven't really taken off. So I spend a lot more time on Instagram because I feel like it's a better place for me to connect individually with people in my audience via DMs. And just a little bit about my professional background before I even started content creation. I used to be a social media manager in the film and TV space. So part of my job was to be a community manager, meaning I am using different social platforms to help build community around a TV show or a movie, which means I'm like responding to people's comments and DMs. I'm making them feel kind of like welcome in the community. I'm making them feel seen and heard. So I kind of took that philosophy of like knowing how to manage a brand's presence on social media and applied that to what I do with Dope Kitchen, because I want to build a close relationship with my audience. I want them to get to know me on a deeper level beyond just food and cannabis. I want them to know who I am, what I do every day, and feel like we're friends through a screen, because I think building that kind of trust has earned me like better engagement and also has earned me like great brand deals, because brands see that my audience really trusts what I have to say and loves engaging with my content.
Yeah, well, that is one other interesting thing. Usually the algorithms like you to stick to one specific topic, whereas you kind of branch out and, you know, one video you're covering hiking, the next video it's baking, the next video it's giving up coffee, whatever it may be. But that's hasn't really affected your account negatively. Like, whereas a lot of them do suggest like stick to one thing and be really, really good at that. But yeah, yours has gone more personality first, and that seems to be working really well because I suppose engagement is the true factor.
Yeah, I don't think I would recommend that people just like have 8 different focuses. I definitely think that if I were to be a bit more focused on just like the stoned cooking videos, I'd probably get even more engagement. But I do want to steer away from just doing cannabis and food content because there is so much more to me as a human being that like I want to share that message out with other people versus like just sticking to one lane. So I do see that sometimes my engagement is a little bit lower or my views are a little bit lower, especially on the videos that are not cannabis and food related. But I am also just trying to make content that makes me feel happy, and content that helps get a different message out because I know people are inspired by the more personal things that I put out there. So even if my content is not getting like a million views every video, I'm okay with that because I know the people who do see the more like mental health focused or physical activity focused type of content, they're inspired by that to change something about their life and pursue a different activity that'll better their mental health.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's kind of like social media with purpose. It's like the charity
Exactly.
version.
Yes.
I pledge 10% to mental health. No, that's great. And then talking about some of your, your brand deals and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's great when you can create content and turn it into your main gig and focus on it. What would you say are your main revenue sources that you've been able to create from, growing these social media accounts?
Yeah, 2022 was the best example of how I had very diversified income. I had a couple of products that I released. So whether that's merchandise that I did through a third-party merch company or I have a friend who owns a jewelry brand and we did a collaboration to create some cool jewelry with one of my favorite sayings on it, which is do dope shit. So I've earned revenue through products and merch. I also used to have a monthly subscription to exclusive content. So what I would do is I would release a grocery list every week with 4 corresponding recipes that go along with that grocery list. And
That's
that
cool.
did really well for a long time. But the platform that I was selling that monthly subscription on went away earlier this year. So I'm taking a little break from that right now and just kind of figuring out where to go from there. And I have, of course, some affiliate commissions, but that is such a small percentage of what I make as a content creator. And then brand deals are definitely the bulk of my income. So just through brand deals, I've probably made about 60% of my income in 2022. And the rest came from the monthly subscription, the merchandise, the affiliate sales, etc.
Nice. That's really nice that you've been able to diversify. Because, it's way less stress when you aren't relying on closing a brand deal, every week to make it all work. So yeah, that's awesome. When it comes to your brand deals, how did that all start? How did you get your first brand deal? Was it you chasing brands or did they approach you? What was the whole process of getting your first brand deal for those listening who are kind of, not quite there yet, but wondering when that kind of tips over?
Yeah, so back in 2020, when I first started on TikTok, probably about, I'd say 4 months into my journey as a content creator on TikTok, I got an email from a brand to do a partnership together. And slowly but surely, even more emails kept coming in. So that was kind of the very beginning of influencers on TikTok. Before 2020, like before the start of the pandemic, I don't think there was a ton of like brand partnerships going on TikTok because it was still such a new platform that was very quickly growing. So I probably hit around, I'd say between 200 and 300,000 followers on TikTok before I started to get a decent number of brand deals. And from there, I let the brands come to me. I don't think I ever once reach out to a brand to try to partner together. However, after about a year of making content on my own, I did get some outreach from a few different like talent managers. And I did a trial run with a couple of different managers before I landed on the one that I have now. And I've been with him for about a year. And he handles all of the brand outreach and negotiations for me
Oh,
because
that's nice.
when I first started on TikTok and was first getting brands approaching me, I had no idea what to charge. I had no idea how to negotiate, and I was definitely underselling myself. So having
Uh-huh.
a manager has been incredibly helpful, and he negotiates some really great rates for me, and I would not be able to do this as a full-time job if it weren't for my manager.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then for the manager, at what point do you think content creators should look at that as an option? Because I know there is a cost involved, and a lot of the time it's kind of chicken or the egg. It's like, do you get the brand manager to get more brand deals, or do you get them once you start getting a few brand deals? What do you think the sweet spot is for when a content creator should start working with a manager to help them with those negotiations and getting work and that sort of stuff?
I think it really depends because I've seen it go a few different ways. I've seen some people grow so rapidly that they they get a ton of managers reaching out to them because managers see a huge opportunity to grow someone's brand while they're blowing up. And then there
Uh-huh.
are people like me who like grow a little bit more like gradually and get brands reaching out to me first before I get noticed by managers. So some content creators might need to do some outreach to different like talent management companies to try to get some brand deals. But for me, I had a few different managers just see a talent in me and reach out to me first.
Uh-huh.
But I think it really just depends on your niche and what kind of content you make. So I am a very unique content creator in that there are not many people who are combining comedy, food, and weed. So I had like a couple of managers reach out because they saw an opportunity, like a very unique value that I provide to my
Uh-huh.
audience. But I also know many food content creators who don't have management because not that there's anything wrong with their food content, but it tends to be a bit more generic and there isn't a unique angle. So I think
Uh,
what a lot of managers seem to look for from my experience and working with many different kinds of managers is that they are looking for someone who has a very unique angle who stands out amongst the rest of the people in their genre.
uh-huh.
So if you are a brand new content creator or you have an idea and you're looking to grow it and find management to help you make money, then I would just take a look at your content first and think about what is unique about what I'm offering my audience. What is a unique angle that I can offer any brands that I work with, and really just hone in on what makes you stand out before you even figure out how you can pitch yourself to a management company.
Yeah, that's really good advice because yeah, there's so much content out there now. It's really just about curation of it and how do you make someone watch your video versus other people's videos? And I think being unique is obviously one of the easier ways to do that. But yeah, that's awesome advice. Um, okay, great. And then you do have a bunch of content that isn't always that friendly on social media platforms. How do you balance the 420 aspects and the cooking aspect? Because I know, a lot of people in that space have backup accounts, or the brands that you might work with might be wanting you to link to sites that end up getting your sort of content flagged or that sort of thing. So is there anything that you do specifically to help manage that aspect of it?
Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error for me to learn the rules of the algorithms and the content
Yeah.
guidelines on each platform. I've learned that on TikTok, I have to kind of create some code words so that it's not as obvious to the TikTok bots what I'm referring to. I know that I can't show any cannabis products.
Uh-huh.
I can't show flower. I can't show myself smoking. And I don't think I've ever shown myself putting an edible into my mouth, but I know that's probably something that I wouldn't do because I have no idea how TikTok would respond to that. But people have noticed that over the last 3 years in my content that I've had to kind of be a bit more sneaky. But I have a big enough audience and I use enough like code words that people understand so that they know what they're getting into when they're following my content. Like people get it. And then on Instagram, they really care about making sure that you're not trying to sell anything. So whenever I tag a cannabis brand, for example, I just make sure that any other words that I'm using in an Instagram story or in a post doesn't seem like I'm trying to sell something. Or I sometimes a trick that I do is that, when you're uploading an Instagram story, or even putting captions on a video, Instagram's kind of bots, I guess, that go through each piece of content to flag it or not, will recognize any words that you're typing into an Instagram story or a caption. So what I will do is I will save an image or a video that has the text that I add to it, and then I will re-upload it so that Instagram can't really see the text that I'm adding. So that's just a fun little workaround that I've discovered that kind of helps. But yeah, with cannabis, I just have to be as sneaky as possible. But people tend to understand what I'm talking about anyway.
Yeah. It's it's not uncommon industry to be in. So I think a lot of people have to try and work around these regulations, and I think it's getting easier and easier. I think the platform's getting more accepting of it for sure. But yeah, another big one was kind of sending emails and that sort of stuff, because I know a lot of email providers also don't want you promoting cannabis products. But I suppose you don't necessarily do you do much email marketing, or it's all kind of social media?
Well, yeah, it's all social media, and I'm thinking about starting an email list. I do have a Substack, but it's only because I've made travel such a huge part of my brand. And I use a Substack just to communicate whenever I am offering a trip that people can sign up for. So I'm not really doing any sort of email marketing beyond that. I don't have a newsletter, but it is something that I'm considering doing in the future because I definitely see the value in it.
Yeah, I think it's, as we've seen what's happening with TikTok, of the back and forth of whether it will not be allowed in the US or not, the value of having that person's email becomes a little bit more more prominent when they're like, yeah, we might remove TikTok. It's like, that is mental.
Yeah. That's a scary thought, because I mean, it speaks to the importance of diversifying your content and income as a social media professional like myself. So I know that if TikTok goes away, that's a huge chunk of my brand deals. And I would assume that any brand deals that I used to have on TikTok, those brands might migrate over to Instagram and put their ad dollars there instead. So it probably won't affect my income that much. But I'm still trying to get on other platforms like even Pinterest and YouTube. And there are a couple of new platforms that have popped up that I'm trying to dabble with, like Lemon8, and there's one called Clapper, which is a very strange name, but I'm just trying to, get my feet into any doors possible, so that if TikTok does go away, I at least have several backup plans.
Yeah, well, I don't think people's use of social media is going to drop. It's just going to shift to a different platform. So the brand deals will still be there. It'll just be on what platform they get focused on, I suppose. But
yes.
But yeah, I think to your point, diversification solves that worry for sure. Okay, the next question is, your content is awesome. Like, the cuts are super quick. It's really engaging. The editing on it is really nice. Is there any tools or anything that you use to help you create better videos? Because I know this is a really hard thing to get right, to like engage people quickly so that they watch and keep watching. What are some tips or tools that you use to make your actual content?
Yeah, I primarily film most of my content on my iPhone, and I will edit on my computer with iMovie. But those are just two very simple tools that pretty much everyone has access to. Like, almost all laptop computers will come with some sort of editing software for free. And everyone has a nice camera on their phone, no matter what kind of phone you have. So if you're just getting started with content creation, you already have very basic tools at your disposal. But I am going to look at kind of trying a couple of different editing tools. I've heard a lot of people using CapCut for different types of editing, so I might look into that in the future, but I pretty much use the most basic things. Unless I'm recording a higher quality video, then I have a couple of different DSLR cameras and other types of cameras that'll capture better quality footage.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and kind of on that topic, and the craziness of AI right now, where do you sort of see content creation with AI going in the next few years? Pros and cons of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about AI, but I did recently experiment with using AI to create a recipe, and I might even develop a series focused on letting AI pick my dinner for me. So I think it could be as simple as that, like AI helping people create content ideas that are viral worthy. So I think there's that, but it's hard for me to say that AI is gonna like totally take over the content creation space, because I do feel that AI will never catch up to just how smart and creative and quick thinking the human brain can be. Even though AI can develop a cool recipe for me using ingredients that I feed the system or whatever, but AI will not be able to think the way a human mind does. So I don't really fear that it's going to like take over my job, but I think people can lean into it and use it to help, maybe to help automate certain things that take too long as a content creator, like scheduling posts. Like maybe you can figure out how to build a better like content calendar through AI, or maybe you can lean into it to help write a script for a video that you're creating, or write a caption so that you don't have to do it yourself. I think there will be certain things that you can use it to help automate and make a little easier and faster, but AI is not going to film for you, AI is not going to edit for you. That still requires like a huge amount of skill and talent that only a human can provide.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we're seeing most people use it for right now is, content ideas, how to improve copy, as you're saying, kind of repetitive tasks like, putting together recipes, that sort of stuff. I think those are areas that are helping speed up the amount of time that we spend on stuff. But yeah, in terms of like putting together a full start to finish piece of good video content, I think it's a while off. That seems like a pretty big feat. But yeah, the face dubbing stuff is crazy. I'm not sure if you've seen the Tom Cruise one, but that was pretty impressive. Okay, final question. This is just more so out of my curiosity, because I'm sort of on the fence about this, but you kind of mentioned a few times that you gave up coffee and it's helped a lot. How did you give up coffee?
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of an easy transition, because I went home for the holidays. So over Christmas and New Year's, there wasn't much going on. I wasn't working during that time. So I was just allowing myself to sleep and didn't really have a need for coffee, because previously I used to drink coffee every morning just to give myself energy to get through my work day. But during a period of vacation and downtime, when everyone is just kind of lazy during the holiday season, I didn't need it. So I had noticed that I had gone about 5 or 6 days without coffee at all, and I just decided to challenge myself to keep going as long as possible. But in order to continue the no coffee streak, I knew that I needed to change other habits to make sure that I was prioritizing sleep. Because without prioritizing sleep, giving up coffee is incredibly difficult. But when I prioritized my sleep hygiene, that's what made it much easier. So
Interesting.
I was doing things like reading before bed for at least a half hour. I would get in bed at the same time every night, so around 8:30, and then I'd read for a half hour to an hour and then start going to bed. And then I would wake up at the same time every day, and I'd wake up at 6 a.m. I think an early wake up time is great for you, because most people do feel a little tired when they're waking up super early in the morning, but it makes for really great sleep at the end of the day as long as you're not napping it during the day.
It's cheeky naps.
Yeah. And another thing that I have stuck with is leaving my phone in another room to charge overnight. So whenever I'm ready to go to bed to read at the end of the night, I just keep my phone plugged in my living room, which is literally right outside of my bedroom door. So I can still hear my alarm loud and clear when it goes off in the morning. But not staring at my phone late at night and giving my eyes a chance to rest helps my sleep immensely. So because I changed a lot of those other habits, it made giving up coffee so much easier. And I still love the ritual of drinking like a hot beverage or even an iced beverage in the morning. So I've replaced coffee with mud water. And they have a few different blends. I use their regular rise blend, and then I have their matcha, and they have like a golden turmeric latte mix as well. So that's a nice substitute for coffee, but I definitely feel a lot more energized when I am prioritizing good sleep hygiene and waking up at the same time every day.
Interesting. Super helpful. That's almost a podcast in itself, that little section.
Seriously, yeah.
Okay, well, Nicole, thank you so much for all the time. Where can we go to find out more about you? Follow some of your channels. Tell us what you're working on next.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at dope__kitchen. You can find me on TikTok at dope_kitchen. I'm also on YouTube at dope kitchen. We're just getting rid of underscores with each platform. I think I also have a Pinterest that I'm not really updating, but you can find me there. And beyond that, I do have like a Substack that you can subscribe to if you're ever interested in traveling with me. I do trips for women to get out in nature, which is really fun and has totally changed my life. And I have a few products available that are listed on my Instagram link in my bio if you're curious about that.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're going to link to all this. But yeah, all of those are super fun ways to leverage your social media, like, into travel, into cooking, all these fun things that people do, as a hobby, not even for work, but you get to do them for work, which is unbelievable. So
it's wonderful.
Congrats on everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the time. And we'll link to all of the things in the show notes. All listeners out there, let us know if you enjoyed this episode. Let us know if you've got questions for Nicole or anything at all. But appreciate the time.
Thanks so much.
All right, see you, Nicole.
Hey guys, we put a bunch of effort into making great content for this YouTube channel. So please hit subscribe, leave us a comment, hit like, and tell a few friends about it.